Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody, from Pasco Laboratories. Hi, I'm JP, and if things look a little bit different, that's because we're starting a new year, and we're starting it a little bit differently. As you can see, I'm broadcasting here from my office, and our folks are working safely from home, and we're just continuing to find great ways to bring good education into your classrooms, into your households, so that you can teach better and our students can learn better. And so, as I said, I'm JP. This year, we're saying that the P stands for prosperity and positivity, because that's what we're looking forward to. And we've got some great ways to bring that to you. We've got great new ideas in chemistry, in physics, in biology, but don't just take my word for it. Let's hear from the experts that have some great things to show you. And we're going to start off with physics with our own physics specialist, Mr. Dan Burns. Let's see what they've got, Dan.
Hi, as a physics teacher, I'm really excited about the Smart Cart motor. I think it's the best product that we've had since the Smart Cart itself. Let me tell you a little bit about it. It attaches to a smart cart. Of course, it's wirelessly connected to our software, and you give it a power level and it goes at constant speed, but you can set this manually, automatically, or dynamically, and I'll give you a few examples of that. And so it can be programmed to respond to any Pasco sensor. It has a rechargeable battery that can last all day, and it even works off the track, so it can turn your classroom or hallways into a physics lab as well. And it has some other nice features. Let's look at some of the applications. So as far as the constant speed mode, we have a lab where you have the smart cart going toward a corner in the room, and you've put a wireless motion sensor on at an angle, measuring the speed relative to the wall, so students can explore the vector components of velocity. And that lab is posted in our experiment library, and we have actually 8 labs posted there. Just search Smart Cart motor. So here's an example. And so it's going toward the corner. The magnitude of the velocity is the top graph, and the 2 components are shown below so students can see how those relate to each other. They can also do constant acceleration. Now, I just said you give it a power level and it goes at constant speed, but with a simple Blockly program, they can program it to do constant acceleration kinematics. And so it says I am. Okay. So I was sharing my screen, but it is. So maybe that's it. So we'll just continue on here. So constant acceleration, the simple Blockly program can have it go with an initial velocity and acceleration. Here's an example. Oh. And so I programmed it with a negative acceleration and an initial velocity, and it forms a pretty good parabola. And they can compare the curve fits to what they input to the program. And if you have more advanced students, you could also have a constant rate of change of acceleration, which is known as jerk. And here's an example of a constant jerk motion. Nice smooth curve fit, a little jumpy at the start, but again, more advanced students can show the equation for the position, the velocity, and the acceleration are following what they set in the program. Now, if you're a biology teacher, you might say, hey, what can Pasco do for me? Well, Barbara is going to go into that next.
Hi, everybody. So We've got some great new kits for you to check out this year in the chat. Hopefully you see a link to all kinds of subjects and all levels of science. And there's not just biology, there's chemistry, physics, and like I said, down to elementary level, if that's what you're looking for. For example, one of our newest ways to put a kit together is called a student lab station. And there'll be a link in the chat for you to look at specifically the biology student lab station. And in that lab station, you not only have the sensors packaged together, but also some sample lab experiments that are printed in a little manual, but you have access to all of the digital versions of our biology labs in the experiment library at Pasco, pasco.com. And so that's what's new with kits and for all subjects. But now I'm going to switch over to chemistry, and we're going to look at a new product in chemistry, a new wireless polarimeter. Now I'm going to move the camera down so you can see it. There it is. So I've got the wireless polarimeter connected to my SparkView software already. And on the inside, you can see there's a sample cell. And what the polarimeter helps you investigate is the optical properties of a solution. So if you're studying organic chemistry and you want to maybe figure out the unknown concentration of a sucrose solution, you can do that by first collecting a run of data in SparkView, which I've got, hopefully I'm sharing. Can you see my screen? Let me start sharing that again. And there it is. Okay, so I've got a run of data that I've already collected up there of just the solvent that I used to make this sucrose solution. And sucrose is just table sugar. It is optically active. And I'm going to compare what the light output looks like from the polarimeter when I've got a sucrose solution. So I'm going to hit start in SparkView. I'm going to show run 1 again. So run 1 again, that was just distilled water, which is not optically active. And now run 2 is some unknown concentration of sucrose solution. And as I turn the wheel to move the polarizing filter, you can see the pink line, which is the new data for sucrose, is shifted to the right. So I can immediately tell before I do any analysis that sucrose is rotating light to the right. And if I hit stop, I can do some analysis with to figure out the maximum intensity. I want to know the angle at maximum intensity. And the first run here, item C, tells me it's 92.6 degrees. If I get the angle for run 2 for sucrose, I could compare those maximum intensity angles to see the displacement and figure out the concentration of that sucrose solution. So great, that's one of our new products for chemistry this year. But I'm going to move along and pass it along to JJ, who will talk about the computational thinking and STEM opportunities for you.
Now you can hear me. Hi, everybody. I'm going to start over. I'm JJ, and I want to take some time to show you an opportunity to include some computational physics in a very standard and very common lesson in physics, which is projectile motion. And so now, let me see if I can share my screen here. That should have done it. You guys can, everybody can hear me now, right? All right. So let me switch over here to Pasco Capstone. And so now included in Pasco Capstone software as well as SparkView software is the ability to do some Blockly coding, right? And so we can open up this Blockly coding window and create blocks of code that help us include computational thinking. And like I said, this is an example of projectile motion. And so what I've done here is I've created a block of code that models the motion of a projectile. And students can do this in several ways. One of them is just using our standard independent equations of independent motion for X and Y. We can have them be part of the code and iterate and calculate changes in each position one at a time, which is easy and straightforward. But as soon as you include things like drag, like air drag, the formulas quickly becomes, just a mess. And coding it that way with the derivatives and the differential equations can get really messy. And so what this type of coding affords us is the ability to do things like just use force to help us determine the motion of the projectile, which is exactly what I do here. And so using force, we can create a pretty standard argument. Forces change momentum. Using momentum, we can figure out what the change in an object's velocity is, and using that, we can figure out what a change in an object's position is, and that's exactly what this code does. And so without drag in here, right, we can plot our X and Y data for this projectile as it flies through the air, right, without drag. And like I said, using the equations that students might be familiar with, those the equations of independent motion for X and Y, they can do this, and it can be familiar, but when drag is part of it, it gets to be a mess. But now we have this neat way to have the code help us figure this out for us, right? That's that computational arm here. And so we remove some of that difficulty by having the computer use this iterative process that sort of that helps us simplify the equations and create the data that we're looking for. And so the light green run is projectile motion without air drag, and the dark green run is with air drag. And so this is a great tool for students to sort of, you know, dip their feet into that computational world. And so that's enough for me. And now I'm going to hand it over to Heidi for more.
Hey everybody, I'm Heidi. I'm here to talk to my K-8 friends out there. JJ just shared with you our new Blockly coding feature in Capstone, but we also have it in SparkView. So I want to share with you today a very exciting product. You may have heard of our code node that has various inputs, but even more exciting, several outputs for when you're doing coding, an RGB LED, a 5x5 LED array. It also has a speaker function and buttons that you can program, lots of things. Well, our newest innovation is the accessory to that code node, the code node cart. So say you want to bring in computational thinking. Let me make sure I'm sharing my screen with you here. If you want to bring computational thinking into the classroom along with coding, you can infuse that with the code node and code node cart and kind of dive into researching how vehicle sensors work. So let's talk about blinkers. That's something everybody's aware of. You engage it by pushing the lever, and then when you make your turn, the steering wheel reacts and it disengages your turn signal. So can I use these tools and Blockly to mimic a turn signal? I absolutely can. Let me show you how to do that. So here is the SparkView screen right now, and the code node sensor has a motion sensor within it, an accelerometer. So I can measure the tilt of my vehicle, and it's important to kind of research that before you make your program so you have the most optimized program. So when I turn my wheel, I want my turn signal to disengage. So I wonder if I should use X tilt or Y tilt. So let's see some data collection. I'm going to go ahead and click Start. And when I tilt the vehicle left to right, I see that I'm getting negative and positive integers on the X axis. And when I tilt the car front and back, I'm getting Y. So if I want to create a program that disengages when my vehicle turns, I'm going to use tilt X. Stop there, and let me show you this code I created. So this is pretty awesome. Essentially, I am programming my 5x5 LED array to show a right-hand arrow when I engage the right button and left arrow for the left. And it's going to disengage when I turn. So let's see how my code turned out. I'm going to go ahead and switch this over so you can see the cart. I have it facing this way because I want to imagine that I'm a passenger in this vehicle. This is going to be my right and this is going to be my left. So let me start my program. Bring you back to the camera. All right, let's engage. I want to do a right-hand turn. Ah, there we go. I even have it programmed to blink because you want the people behind you to be aware of what's going on there. I wanted it to flash. So when I make that tilt and turn, it disengaged. Let's see if it'll work on the left-hand turn. Awesome, it worked. So just one really neat example how you can investigate vehicle sensors using the code node and the code node cart. We have activities right now available online if you want to research how odometers work, talking about how you can program Christmas tree lights for drag racing for the 3, 2, 1, go. Lots of fun possibilities to bring computational thinking and coding into your classroom. And you actually can do it for free starting today if you want to start playing at home. Download the Blockly software, and you can use onboard sensors on your cell phones and computers to get started. It's a lot of fun. Thanks a lot. I'm going to pass it back to JP.
You sure are. And what a great way to see some of the good things that are going on there. I want to share with you my screen of some data that we have. I can find my screen. First, we're all learning some new technologies here. Don't know where my screen keeps going. There we are. So we received some data that was talking about students being prepared and some concerns that our students were having. And what we saw is that the students don't think that they're being prepared for what they're going into, whether it be college or AP courses, advanced level courses. And so you see that we've been doing a lot of work to make sure that we can teach, but we need to do some additional work to make sure our students have the opportunity to learn. And we might need to do some learning from distance learning from home or hybrid learning, or we might even need to do some accelerated learning. And we can do that, and we can do that using our accelerating tool called the Pasco Academy. If you haven't seen our Pasco Academy, check it out online. For chemistry and physics, we have the greatest tool to get your kids moving more quickly in chemistry and physics if they're at home, or even starting next year, take up some coursework in chemistry and physics they might have missed. We've got 3 segments in every single major lab that you would be conducting in both chemistry and physics. And in those segments, we start with a clip 1, which is a teacher prep clip, where JJ and Dan, who you've seen today already, will be talking directly to the teacher and getting them set up and giving them the teacher files that they need to be prepared so that they can share those with their students, or they can understand better where the lesson's coming from, including complete access to essential physics. Then we have a second clip, which is talking directly to the student, where we get student data collected and shared out to the students, and we provide to the teacher all the great files that are necessary for them, the worksheets, the data, and all the things that the teacher may need to conduct this lab correctly. And then if that's not enough, we come back in clip number 3 and actually do the follow-up to give the answers and explain how we got the answers. So we've done the instruction here in 3 specific steps that help you get ready for your students. And so that's the Pasco Academy, and it will help you with your chemistry and physics. So you see, we're doing a lot of great things here. We have a great lineup this year in 2021 of things that we're going to do for you. We're going to be showing you great ways to do chemistry, great ways to do physics, great ways to do biology. We're going to be bringing computational thinking into everything that you do, and we're going to make this the best 2021 possible. But ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to take my word for it. Why don't you take the word of our president, Mr. Richard Briscoe?
Thank you, JP, and hello, everybody. I hope you're excited as I am about all the great products and resources that we've shown you today. We have many, many more that are in our catalog and on our web. Hot off the presses is our new catalog for both the technology and the physics. But with the new year comes new resources. We'll have a link here. We have a new digital catalog. It's eco-friendly, easy to use, and you don't need a catalog. If you need a catalog mailed, we can do that for you too. At Pasco, we're just like you. We're a team of educators looking for ways to increase student learning in science, education, and STEM. So from Pasco, we wish you and your students much success this remaining school year and even a more prosperous 2021-22 school year. Thank you, everybody, for taking part today, and we look forward to talking with you soon. Back to you, JP.
Thank you, Rich. And from all of us here at Pasco, we would like to wish you all a very merry, happy New Year from Pasco Scientific. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year. Happy New Year.